Just because you didn't have someone in place that works in technology, it doesn't mean that the state, it doesn't mean like the court, it doesn't mean like your customers aren't going to hold you liable.
This is the Biz Reveal, and I am your host, Craig Sawyer. This week, we are joined by Ebony Vaz, the founder and chief strategist of Above Promotions, a digital marketing and public relations company in the Tampa, Florida area. She is also the author of the book titled Because You're Small, Effective Marketing Strategies for Immediate Implementation. Ebony has been featured on MSNBC.com, Food and Wine, Social Media Today, Food Fanatics, BizBash, Adweek, PR Daily, Yahoo.com, The Retail Customer Experience, Business to Community, News1.com, as well as other publications and panels. She is often invited to speak to large groups on emerging technology for marketing and public relations strategies, crisis communication issues with an emphasis on cybersecurity, consumer psychology and research, marketing trends, startup ecosystems, as well as STEM and diversity. On this episode, Ebony will discuss the importance of implementing cybersecurity measures within a small business organization, and we will discuss the various methods used to protect your company from cyber threats. Ebony will also bring her depth of marketing knowledge to increase revenue and higher returns on investments. You can visit Above Promotions at their website at abovepromotions.com or contact Ebony Vaz directly by email at ebony@abovepromotions.com. This is the Biz Reveal and Cybersecurity with Ebony Vaz.
So I'm Ebony Vaz, and I am the owner and founder of Above Promotions Company, where we focus on marketing technologies, helping brands to figure out what technology they need to measure their storytelling, measure their marketing campaigns, and also to use that data to create those stories. But then on the other side, what we do is crisis communications for cybersecurity incidents. And so we like to a colleague has been describing it as there's the boom, right? And so we help people with before the boom, and we help people during the boom, and we help them after the boom. So we just want to make sure that we give businesses a chance to prepare for when an incident happens, as well as to make it through the incident, because when an incident happens, you have customers calling you, you have internal teams trying to figure out what to say and what to do, and then you also have the media. So there's been a lot of incidents where people were not prepared when any of those entities came to them, and it actually ended up costing them way more than it would have if they had been prepared. And so our other aspect is if you've had an incident, get with us so that we can help you with telling your story in that rebuilding process, get you quicker to ramping back up and making that loss of revenue very minimal.
So it's just putting a plan in place so that it's not quite as chaotic if something like that, some type of breach or something like that were to happen. You're not just kind of, running around trying to figure out what to do. You at least have some type of protocol to follow when that happens, so you have a place to start.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of businesses these days have business continuity plans in place where in the event a hurricane comes, we're here in Florida. So businesses have this idea of what they need to do when a hurricane is about to come. And businesses have an idea of what to do if there's a loss of power. So you need to have that same type of energy put forth to what happens if you have an employee that wants to go and share your proprietary information. What happens if you have an employee to steal some of your customer data, or somebody external to steal some of your customer data? So that type of business continuity has to play, especially now, because we are completely relying on digital and the internet and everything is like, we want things to be simple on our end. We want our phone to know when we speak, like Amazon, send me an order of toilet paper,
right.
and it comes in the mail. But that convenience comes at a price too. It leaves us open to different issues that could come up. And so it's a matter of your business being properly prepared for it. And I think that a lot of business owners, because they don't have, especially if you're a small business owner and you don't have an IT department or you don't have a large IT department, you tend to overlook some of those little things. And just because you didn't have someone in place that works in technology, it doesn't mean that the state, it doesn't mean like the court, it doesn't mean like your customers aren't going to hold you liable. I mean, every single state at this point has some type of requirement for you to have at least some due diligence, some plans in place, and some practices in place for what happens.
Yeah, I would think that would be a requirement for like insurance type purposes, right? That they want to know that if something like that were to happen, that there's a plan there that you can at least begin to rely on. So when you start working with a company to put a plan in place for their cybersecurity plan, what's one of the first things that you look at? Like, how do you look at different companies in different ways when you first start off with that?
Well, usually so I can tell you, I can 99% of the time tell what we're going to first start off of based off of the first meeting. So if I go to the meeting and it's only one person, one department represented, then I know it's an issue, because the fact that you need all the departments, all the team members together working. And if it's a solo or a smaller business where they don't have multiple departments and it really is just that one CEO kind of leading the charge on everything, if that one CEO comes and doesn't have anything in place, they don't know who all their vendors are, they don't have a list of what information that they're sharing with their vendors, by that time, I know like that's like the first place we have to start, because we need to know like what each practice is, because before you can begin to communicate the story, you have to have an understanding of like that baseline, that foundation. So I can pretty much tell within the first meeting, like what the issue is and like what we need to attack first. Because having that foundation and then having that internal communications is going to be very key. Because you don't want a customer calling you and they get to your receptionist and your receptionist is like, oh my God, everybody's running crazily. We just had a breach.
Right. That's what you're trying to avoid.
That's what you're trying to avoid. Right. Like, oh, our IT is so swamped today. You know, they're talking to like the person that delivers the ice. Our IT is so swamped today. And we heard we're not going to get our checks because somebody hacked. So we hope we get paid today. You know, you just don't. Employees, sometimes they just don't think about like the consequences of the things they say, the emails they open, right. The phone calls they take.
and sometimes that's just an educational thing, you know.
Oh, yes.
Like you don't, and I've said this in past shows, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you don't know that you shouldn't open up certain things because they look safe. And yeah, I know a lot of companies have put things in place now. They'll put like trainings in place for, you know, opening up links. If you don't recognize the email address that it came to, don't open it up, things like that. So I have noticed that within the company I work for, that they've put a lot of effort. And I'd say the last 18 months or so, there's been a very conscious and a big awareness of those types of things. Who's your main point of contact when you work with a company? Who's the main people? I would assume IT is a big one, obviously, but is it the business owner? Is it just the IT department? Who's the person that you would normally talk to first about that? Or who's the person who leads that discussion?
So sometimes when it's a very small business, it's going to be the owner of the company. Other times it could be the IT leader, or it could be the marketing department leader. And so for me, what makes me unique is that my undergraduate degree focused on password information security. I actually have published research that's out there on the topic. And so there's not too many people that have that marketing storytelling background and have that engineering background as well. And so that makes what I do very unique. So I often end up talking to the marketing person that doesn't have that background and understanding like these are these words. Like it is very easy like to hear someone throw out some jargon and then it just goes over your head. You don't know how to translate it. But the other end of it is that IT people, they are used to talking to IT people and they don't know how to talk to other people. So
they do have their own language.
Yeah, they have their own language. They have their own, acronyms and other such abbreviations of words that if you don't hear it all the time, you wouldn't know. And there's a lot of terms that are interchangeable, like every industry, like the industry you're in, every word is interchangeable, right? Sure. So there's an opportunity there for especially those people that are technical background, and they know they have a problem with communicating an issue. And especially if they know they've had communication issues with other departments, they'll say like, hey, can you come in? Can you translate for us? and so we'll do that as well.
So when you have, because my audience base is typically small business owners, right? We're not, most of my listeners are not going to be your corporate huge entities. So if I'm a small business owner that has say 20, 30 employees, but I also want to make sure that the business is safe, the employees are safe, the technology is in place. What type of financial obligation are we looking at to put something like that in place, a type of protocol for if there was some type of security breach?
Yeah. So, it will always vary from industry to industry. But I will tell you that I've seen where people have invested as much as a salary for an employee. And I've seen where people have invested maybe like a couple $100s a month on this. But I think because of the fact that with cybersecurity, it's not even so much of a hack anymore, because it is literally like an eBay, right? There are websites where somebody goes onto it and they buy for 50 cents a very easy protocol, right? It's like shopping on Amazon or eBay for these very simple plans. Like, okay, we have this list of people in these companies and they're probably using these softwares. And so we have this little piece of it. You pay us $5. And if you follow these instructions and you send this file, you'll probably end up with a yield. Like some point for $5, you could probably end up with $1,000.
Right.
And so for the criminal, that's not a bad investment, right? So I've seen where some small businesses, they actually, like I said, may spend a couple $100s a month with something in place. And then they will in turn take a time to do a training, bring in people to train. And that's another way to keep some of the expenses down. But I think what small businesses fail to realize is that you think that because you're small, no one's coming for you, but that's not the case. And I will tell you that the more you grow, the more successful you will be to getting a hack or some internal issue that happens. And a prime example is, excuse me, where there are people that will get a large contract with a large organization. They'll get hacked. They're not the main target. They want that large organization. They're just using you, the small person that's building their company, putting in the hard work to get a foot in the door.
Okay.
And so I tell people, you have to be careful about even just do a little bit of due diligence when you're adding people on LinkedIn, because some people are doing that. They're just looking to see who do you know? I may know X, Y, and Z, and they may use me to get to John, and John has access to the president. You see what I'm saying?
Well, and that's things that I'm looking at you with a little bit of an astounded face right now, because I use LinkedIn a lot. And so as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, But you're right. And I hadn't thought about that, you may not be the direct target, but you have access either to the direct target or access to people who have access to, and then, so some of these folks that kind of they worm their way through to get to where they need to go.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's a shame because here you are, a small business. You're very excited about getting either this government contract, whether it's local or federal, or even getting this contract with a larger entity. And it could be just someone that says, hey, they put, we used to say 6 degrees of separation, but these days it's so much smaller than that. Yeah. It's like one could put one person away from the White House or one person away from the governor or even your local mayor. And so you just never really know what the part is. And then, like I said, they may not even try to be going to the big fish. It is the fact they went to like the eBay of hacking and they spent like they say that you can literally get like 50 cents. You could end up spending and end up coming back with a yield of 4 to 5 figures. That's
crazy.
It's crazy.
What's the most common breach? And I know that there's obviously a wide variety, but if you could just kind of touch on that, what types of breaches do you see, and what's the most common thing? If there was only one way for me to secure my business and that was it, that's all I could do, or that's all I was interested in, what's the most common one?
Sawyer Health Solutions. When it comes to health coverage for you and your family, one size does not fit all. Customize your health plan to fit your family's specific needs and budget so that you only pay for the benefits you need. Go to SawyerHealthSolutions.com for a free customized quote today or call 239-677-9877. Sawyer Health Solutions, affordable solutions for your health insurance needs.
Yeah, I hate to say like just do this one thing.
Sure.
So because of all of the research and stuff that I have in password information security, I'm going to start there. Password 1234. What do they say that there are more men that have like Superman as their password?
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah, I forgot what percentage it is, but it's a higher percentage of men having the password of Superman.
Mine's not Superman. So anybody out there trying to hack me, it's not Superman.
It's Wonder Woman.
That's right. You found me out. Now I got to change it. So password security is where you start. Password. Yeah, I mean, and that is probably the simplest way as well. And from my training that I've had through my company, I think they would agree with you because we have had that password training, and they say to use initials, like pick a phrase and then use whatever your phrase is, I like to eat fudge on Mondays, except during the month of February, whatever it is, and just pick the first letter of each word in that phrase. That would make it secure. And then, of course, end it with some type of number and a character and things like that. That makes it original to you that nobody else would really be able to figure out. Don't do like a pet's name or your kids' names or birthdays. It doesn't take long to figure that stuff out.
No. So there's an organization called NIST, N-I-S-T, and your viewers and listeners can look up the organization, but they have what's called a framework. And one of the strong suggestions is that it be a minimum of 8 characters and go up to 64. And so there, like you said, there are phrases, you can pick your phrases. There's suggestions of using like a certain lyric to some of your favorite songs. So whatever your favorite song is, a favorite line in it, you could actually use that. So there's a lot of different ways. But what's important that people should remember with passwords is that you don't want to use the same one multiple times all over. A password manager is very good to have. In addition, I would say that, so for me, it's kind of funny as I have this little game that I play where I will use very basic passwords when I'm testing out software. And I think I may or may not use it again. So like I have a password, let's say it's my neighbor's dog. That's the password. And I'll use that on one platform and test it out. I never go past it. And then 2 or 3 months later, I get this email from someone saying, hey, we know what you've been doing. We've got your password, my neighbor's dog, and we've been recording you through the camera. And so one, that tells me, like, I know for sure that I wasn't planning on, I know where that came from. I know who's been breached. Funny thing is, sometimes I'll know before they even said anything, and maybe they've been breached and it was been months, et cetera. So I do have a little bit of game.
That is actually very smart, because if you do have a different password for each one, you know, and you find out that that password's been hacked, at least you know where it came from.
Where it came from.
And you can kind of track backwards on why it got hacked. That's a very good point. The other thing that you had said, and I've heard this a lot, and so I know it's one of the most basic rules of passwords, but still tremendously important, is to have a different password for each site. Now, myself, like everybody else, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times doing what you do, there's no way I can remember that. So you said to use like a password manager. And if you use a password manager, what's the likelihood of the password manager site being hacked, and then somebody has literally all of your different passwords for all the different sites that you use? How safe are those?
It's going to be safer than using the same password over and over again.
Okay.
Like, the odds are like so much higher. I mean, nobody is 100% unhackable, just at the end of the day, but it's your job to do the best that you can when you're there. And your customers have this understanding of, you've done everything you could to protect them. You've picked vendors who would keep their information safe. And so that's why I especially think that it's one thing when you think about all the personal passwords you have, but think about your company's passwords and how that goes about, and what is the consequence if this password is too short.
How do you
this password's too easy.
How do you share with your customers that you are using vendors who are secure? How do you share that? Because that is great knowledge to have, and a great way to build confidence in your company with your customers. How do you share that? How do you let them know that hey, we are doing this for you, for your protection? How do you put that out there?
Well, I mean, so there's a couple of different things. Like, let's say you are a coach, and you have a website where you have a member community and people go and log onto that. Just by letting people know, like, yes, this site has been secured with a security certificate, and we make sure that this vendor, we keep up with what they're doing security wise. In addition, yes, because you signed up on our community, we are going to require you to change your password every, few months. And we are making sure that internally we are doing training and things in place. So I think it's always good to let customers know that you are some of the things that you're doing. And I am a proponent of actually not putting it on the internet. So
I was going to say, is that something you should put on your website, that, that you make a statement that maybe not what companies you use, but that, it is safe and secure, or like a little logo or something like that you would share on your website to make sure that people understood that, hey, we are taking this seriously and we're trying to protect our customers?
Well, number one, when you get your SSL certificate for your website, that's the immediate thing that lets people know you take your security serious about what's being passed back and forth. The other thing too, and I have to sidebar this because we do marketing as well, is that when you have that SSL certificate, that security certificate for your website, Google also prioritizes your website as well. Because of the fact they're looking at you're taking it seriously. They know that when they send someone to your website, they have a less possibility of being hacked.
So that actually improves your SEO.
Yes, improves your SEO by having an SSL certificate. Yeah. So then to go back to the whole, on the customer side, is by having that SSL certificate there, that's a good way to let the customer know it's a benefit for your SEO. But in your privacy policy, you can mention, we do the there's a lot of different languages, but a lot of times it's like, we're using the latest and we're staying on top of in our training. And then some people actually, because like I mentioned before, every state has some type of requirement. And so some people may put, if something happens, you will be notified, that type of thing. So you might see more publicly in a privacy policy, but I would not start off like, bam, these are the things that we do, and put that on your website. But I think when you have someone that you're building trust with, someplace in that sales cycle, that business development cycle where you're having that talk, if they bring it up to you, already having it in place and providing them, hey, this is a look, this is some of the main things that we do that we would like to share. And then even on that onboarding process of when we get new clients, we let them know, even if there are hiring us on the marketing side to redo their storytelling, look at the data for their customers and their leads and stuff that they've had, we still let them know, like, these are the things that we're going to do. We're going to have access to these things. And by law, if we are notified and we know, we will reasonably let you know what happened. So we do like to provide that level of ease. And then at the same time, when we're doing that, we're also saying, hey, for the same due diligence we're doing, we need you to do the same. Right?
That makes sense. That it should be reciprocated, because they may not be able to hack you, but if you're attached to them and you're hacked, that might give them a nice little wormhole into you. And I know that you also do marketing technology. And since we're talking about some of these technologies, can you go into that just a little bit? Like, as far as the marketing technology, what does that mean?
Yeah. So, I can make it as simple as this. We've seen with the change of COVID and the virus that a lot of businesses that perhaps had it an in-store, maybe let's take retail or restaurants where they had this in-person model, even real estate, right? And the person model, you're sharing everything, you're taking people one by one into people's home. So making that transition from how can we still make money if we can't have as many people in present? Maybe not everybody wants to do in person. Maybe now we need to do virtual tours. What's the best platform we need to use? And then how do we connect people how do we get them from a lead online? They researched us, and then connect them through this whole process. So when we talk about marketing technology, for us, we're looking at the user experience. We're looking at that customer's journey from the time we generate a lead for you to how we put them through your entire process so that it's seamless, because we know that the more friction you create for your customer, the more likely they'll move to someone else. They want ease. They're coming to you. They're paying for you to relieve them of whatever issue that they have. Exactly. And so you need to make that process simple. And so what we do is we do a lot of testing. We do a lot of lab work. And that's why I said, for me, I'm always creating these passwords, because we're always testing and trialing stuff. So I kind of know who's been breached if somebody comes back and tells me based off of that. But we do constantly stay in the know about like what technology is out there, what's new, and then how to make it applicable. Just because there's blockchain, you don't need to apply that to your business, or you might not need to apply virtual reality to your business at this time. That you just need to pick the right solution. And so people come to us and help them pick the right solution to get the growth.
What's been the biggest move? What's been the trend over the last 6 months with COVID? Because obviously, I think we're all COVIDed out as far as the conversations go, but it is a topic, and life is changing. And I think it has changed the business world going forward. Because as you said, we've had to transition very quickly from that in-person touch to the 180 complete opposite of no touch and not having any type of physical contact, or at least very little. Yeah. What's been the biggest trend?
So, I would say the biggest trend has been getting those people into a more, I guess, digital aspect of, some of these restaurants didn't have delivery before. They didn't have carry out services. And it's because of the fact that a lot of those platforms charge a lot for small businesses. That's a lot for them to give up, 20-30% of an item. So, and they don't want to charge their customer all of a sudden $15 for a hot dog when they were charging $5 inside in order to make the money. So I've seen where that has been like the biggest trend and push, is to see what's the best way that we can still do this without having to give up so much of revenue and increase pricing by so much. And of course, certain areas where you have a product, commodity, et cetera, prices have gone up in general, right? We've seen where Lysol was maybe $4 for a can. Now it's $6 for the same can.
I wish I would have bought stock in some of that stuff, right? Toilet paper and Lysol, hand sanitizer.
Right? That you can't, I mean, some of those things are hard to find still. So I would say helping some of those customers that have that has been like the primary focus. Even organizations that have been large companies like your Burger Kings and your Crystals and all those other, they're still trying to figure out how to transition and make things more comfortable. But what's been, I think, the biggest trend now that everybody has figured out how to get product or services delivered electronically, it's now been like, how do we put like our personality back into it? So that's been like the biggest trend. Like before,
because
it was
we've
like,
lost that personal touch, right? I mean, that's exactly what's happened. So we've lost that personal touch. We've lost the handshake and that one-on-one, face-to-face thing, which does make business very impersonal. And it makes it harder to do business. Now, it's been obviously, because of the situations, a lot more accepted than, say if you were doing this last year and you didn't shake somebody's hand at the end of a business deal, that doesn't look good. But now it's accepted. I just hope it doesn't become accepted permanently, even after this is all over, because that would be a shame. So putting that personal touch back into it, I wonder if it's going to be just as hard as it was to move out of it, if it's going to be just as hard to move back into it or not, because people are going to be a little unsure, even after this is all gone. They're going to know that they, if we had to do this before to stay safe, maybe going forward, we should be safer. So it'll be interesting to see how business changes going forward after this.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say that we will go back, but unfortunately, most of the predictions and the conversation is that we are moving forward. So what does forward look like, right? So I remember some of the best networking events where I went to, and it was like wall-to-wall people and really good connections could be made. I don't know that we're going to see people packing out like that.
And I hate using the term the new normal, because it's just one of those cliche things that people are using right now. But there will be, what was normal 6 months ago, I don't think will ever be normal again. But that's not to say that what's normal in the future, the new normal, it may be even better. And as you mentioned, a lot of businesses had to adapt to this, right, to stay alive. But now they can add this new aspect to their business when they're able to bring the old aspect back. Now they've got two different things that they can do. So it actually might build their business, because now they were forced into a new business model, and it kind of forced them into that situation. And now maybe they're going to have both. So I actually expect a bit of a boom in the upcoming year because of that.
Yeah. And I think that the business owners that accept that there will be some sort of change, I think those are the business owners that are going to succeed. I think the ones that are digging their heels in are the ones that we have seen. I mean, I've seen locally, they end up closing permanently because they're like, this is how I wanted to run my business. I didn't see it any other way. As to where there's people that are more entrepreneurial based, and they are like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to serve this community. And if I have to make an adaptation along the way, then I'll do that. So I think that there is going to be some level of social distancing that will still stay in place. Perhaps we won't be blowing out candles on birthday cakes in the workplace anymore. But perhaps we will be back in the office. I know.
I'm like, can you believe we actually did that kind of stuff?
I know. I know. Perhaps now in the workplace, it'll be everybody gets their individual cupcakes and they're delivered,
There's always a way, and we'll find a way.
Yeah.
Ebony, we are out of time for today's show.
Wow.
But thank you for talking to us, about the marketing technology, cybersecurity. Tell our listeners how they can reach you if they have questions or are interested in hearing more ideas about how they can change their business. Can you let them know how to get a hold of you?
Mm-hmm. So our website is abovepromotions.com. Additionally, you can if you want to reach out to me directly. I love to network. I miss the in person, but I'm definitely good on LinkedIn, very good at LinkedIn networking. So you can reach me on LinkedIn under Ebony Vaz. And you feel free, again, like I said, you can go to our website. We do have a chat bot there where actually we do spend a lot of time doing live chats with people to help them to have their conversations and just get some more information. So between the website, or if you want to reach out to me directly, you can do that and through LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you so much, Ebony. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I certainly learned a lot. I think a lot of other folks will at least have something to think about how they should go forward with their business. Everybody else, this has been the Biz Reveal. Thank you for joining us this week. You can always catch us on our Biz Reveal website at thebizreveal.com. You can see all of our current and past episodes there, as well as our YouTube page where we have the video representations of every one of our podcasts. So please like and subscribe. And then, of course, all the podcast apps. You name your favorite one and we're going to be there. So join us on all the podcast apps. And thanks again. Till next time.